Hi guys, we are from group 13 and I would like to explain about classroom management. My name is Galina Putri Absari and my partner is Billy. They are outline first motivation, the second classroom management control and discipline, and the third organizing learning activities. And next, I like to explain about motivation. Motivation is a past term used quite loosely. For the example, it sometimes refers to feelings, a goal, a mental process, a certain type of behavior, or a personal characteristic. More recently, motivation has been seen as a set of beliefs, thoughts, and feelings that are thrown into action. Motivation, according to Dorney, motivation has been widely accepted by both teachers and researchers as one of the key factors that influence the rate and success of second or foreign language learning. Being motivated to learn a language is the first impetus. At first, the novelty factor may be enough to carry children's learning forward. Feeling of enjoyment, challenge or success will need to continue for many years if the difficult task of learning a language is to be achieved. In some countries, pupils will be all too aware of the benefit that knowing English can bring, such as a better job or better opportunities for studying abroad. However, for your learner, the reason will not be relevant to their immediate day-to-day concurrence. The next, classroom control and discipline. Classroom control and discipline, in my mind, the first and most basic obligation of a teacher is to see the beauty that exists within every student, every child is evenly precious. When children enter school, they are faced with a new set of social routines and relationships with which even a kindergarten might not have prepared them for. According to Nelson, children develop scripts of mental maps to understand routines in their life in the same way that adults do. As adults, we know what to do in a doctor's surgery or in a job interview, both of which can be such stressful situation if we do not know what to expect. In the same way, children learn how to cope with the demand of school and the stress of being in a large class, receiving little individual attention, and facing unfamiliar rules and conventions. If children in your school learn English at a very young age, teachers need to be careful not to speak too much in English. The children might become very bewildered and uncomfortable if the teacher talks to them all the time in a strange foreign language. Gradually, introducing pupils to use English for a short period of time through song or rhythms will help to ease them in slowly. And the next, finding a balance. Children very quickly work out which teachers are inconsistent in their standard of discipline. Some are very authoritarian, and this might be part of the normal classroom culture, but a classroom with little discipline might descend into chaos where nothing is learned. Finding the right balance between order and flexibility is very important. The most effective environment for learning is often found in a classroom where the teacher is firm but kind and encouraging so that pupils, especially very young children, feel confident and happy. And the next, a 4-point action plan could be from finding a balance. Copy out class lists and the names of children you commonly put into groups. Write their names on any piece of work you collect or display. And the second, if you call a register, look at the children as they respond. And the third, ask the children to write their names clearly on a piece of card which they place on their desks. Collect them and distribute them at the beginning of each lesson. And last, keep a sitting plan of the class. First, you might wish the children to remain in the same seat, although it would be a pity or let this organizational convenient to make your decision to let the children work in different groups once you know their names. The next, getting the pupil attention. With young pupil, you might need to establish a signal for getting the pupil's attention. This might be when you say freeze, write, or clap, or use a musical instrument, or knock on the desk, and so on. Quickly start an activity such as an action, song, or rhythm to create a momentum and keep them occupied. When you want to gain the attention of the whole class, you can also train this step. The first, firmly name the children still talking. Mia and Jenny, stop talking please, and maintain eye contact. As soon as the children become quiet, give a short verbal instruction, such as let's begin. The second, start a well-known activity or routine, or give instruction for a new activity to keep the pupils' attention. Keep eye contact with talkative children for a while to show them their behavior is beginning attention. And the third, wait for quiet before beginning a new activity. And the last, once these routines have become established, you should be able to cut down on the amount of time you spend clipping pupils. And the last, giving praise. You can quickly establish good relationship with your pupils by praising good behavior, commenting on good work, making helpful. Is important in setting the right atmosphere. However, if you can constantly overpraise pupil, it might become failures. Some of the kind of pupil behavior you might want to encourage and praise include
organizing learning activities. This will deal with how to organize the learning to be interesting for the pupils. Teacher can ask them their hobbies, favorite games, toys, sports, TV programs, music, and film. It helps the teacher to build up picture and topics discussion that related to their favorite, which will make them interested to learn. There are several points should be highlighted. First is dealing with bilingual pupils. Sometimes some of your pupils can speak English rather fluently because of their parents speak English to them, or they come from English-speaking country, or they have English course outside school. It will be boring for them who have an advanced level in English than the other. You have to use strategies to make them still in learning. You can encourage them to show and tell some of their experience from their country. Explain the instruction to groups, even act as the teacher or helping another group. Second is managing pair and group work. Be careful because not every pupil can work in group. Most of children prefer to work alone because they are still reluctant to share. Beware when you're trying it out for the first time to the children under the age of 7. It is easier to ask them work with the person next to them or behind them. Teacher also should not let the pupils work with the same friend. You have to mix and match based on their ability level in pair group. Third is the effect of different kinds of classroom activities. Teachers should be aware to the activities that engage students to learn actively because it might be uncontrolled when they are steering in their activities. Teacher can start the lesson with settling to calm the pupils down. Avoid activities that do not involve the emotional or intellectual. For example, too much copying and repeating. The fourth is the mixed ability class. Normally, textbook is made for the pupils at the same level, which means it is not specific to individuals. whereas that each pupil in the classroom has the different ability. Teacher can do mixed ability teaching or differentiation that considers 7 key factors. The first is the text used. Pupils can read different versions of story, which means the text can include more or less complicated details. And then the task used. Pupils can work at the same topic, but the task can grade it in difficulty based on the pupil's ability. And then the support provided. Teacher can provide help such as checklists or substitution to help some pupils. The outcome demanded. We can divide the pupils to do something easier or difficult like drawing with simple caption or retelling story. And then the ability of the group used. We have discussed at the previous slide. And then the range of activities used. Teachers should aware pupils' learning styles such as visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. And then the last is the choice of activity. Teacher can ask what activity the pupil would like to produce. For example, ask the pupils to guess animals. For example, I'm thinking of an animal with no legs. What is it? Something like that. And now we move to time management. Teachers should be able to manage the time and try to manage as planned on the lesson plan or syllabus. But how if there is still spare time at the end of the lesson? Teacher can make an activity such as song, rhymes, games, or puzzle. So you have to plan your lesson so you do not stop in the middle of an activity. Finish work little early rather than late, and you can find activity to fill up the last few minutes. If you want to give homework, take time to explain it beforehand. Don't be squeezing at the very end of the lesson. Then classroom organization and layout. It is important to arrange where pupils sit because it determines how effective and secure the atmosphere of the lesson. If the room is large, please make the pupils close to you. Make sure you can see all of them. You have to consider the space of the chair and tables because when children do an activity actively and running in the classroom, it will be dangerous. The last is keeping teaching records. It is necessary to record the teaching process to remind the stories and topics which have been covered in a term. Teacher can make wall charts like how many words did you learn this week? Or can you say "jeruk" in English? So, in conclusion, teachers should manage everything in the classroom to reach the effectiveness of the learning process. And thank you for your attention and see you next time.